This right here is crazy.
AyeQ!
This is what yo, imagine him in a hospital room and the baby's coming out. Fellas, again, focus on yourself. That's what it is.
Who was Maya Johnson? Beyond the headlines and the investigation, what kind of life did she lead before it was so tragically cut short? To truly understand the gravity of this case, we need to step back and take a closer look at the woman at the center of it all. Maya Johnson was a 26-year-old mother raising two young children. Friends and family describe her as fiercely devoted to her kids, a woman who did everything she could to make sure they felt loved and cared for. Her life wasn't without its challenges, but she faced them with determination. In her day-to-day life, Maya was just like so many mothers, juggling the responsibilities of parenting while trying to create a better future. Those who knew her speak of her infectious laughter and the way she could light up a room. Yet behind that smile, there were struggles. According to her Instagram profile, she was a traveling lash teach, and she sold men's clothing as well. Maya was 9 weeks pregnant with her third child, a new life she was preparing to welcome into the world. This pregnancy was a glimmer of hope in what was often a turbulent relationship with her boyfriend, Jakari Martin Sugrin. Her friends say she believed in second chances, holding on to the hope that things could improve for the sake of her growing family. But balancing hope with the realities of a strained
Damn, dude look like Meek Mills. Facts.
relationship wasn't easy. Neighbors recall frequent arguments coming from their home, and some even expressed concern for Maya's safety. Still, she never gave up on trying to build a life filled with love and stability for her children. While Maya's days revolved around her children, she also had dreams of her own. A close friend revealed that Maya often talked about wanting to go back to school, to create a life where her kids could look up to her, not just as a mother.
Wait, is that her son? Yo, why she got little man dancing like that? That's crazy.
A close friend revealed that Maya often talked about wanting to go back to school, to create a life where her kids could look up to her, not just as a mother, but as an inspiration. She wanted to break the cycle of struggle and give her children opportunities she never had. But those aspirations were often overshadowed by the challenges of her personal life. Mia's relationship with Jakari, according to those closest to her, was marked by moments of love, but also by a pattern of tension and conflict. It was a dynamic that many found concerning, but Mia held on to the hope that things could change. Behind closed doors, however, the cracks in her relationship with Jakari were growing deeper. Neighbors would later tell detectives about heated arguments, often escalating to the point where they feared something terrible might happen. Tragically, those fears became a reality. As investigators...
This right here is sad, bro. Fellas, if ever you're in a relationship with a woman and y'all are constantly arguing, it will be wise to walk away. Once you have to argue with a woman, it's time to leave her because she's lashing back. She's not respecting who you are or nothing you're saying. So that's the woman who is already gone. And it's wise to just leave her alone because you can't change her. You can't change her mind. And you can't make her go back to respecting you. Facts.
dig deeper into the events of October 22, 2024, questions about her final moments and the man who pulled the trigger only grow more pressing. Stay with us as we uncover the secrets and contradictions surrounding this case. It began with something as small as a social media notification, a liked photo on Instagram. But what started as a minor disagreement spiraled into an explosive confrontation that would leave a mother of two and her unborn child dead. The question remains, how did it escalate so quickly? It was October 22, 2024, in the quiet Tallahassee home Maya Johnson shared with her boyfriend, Jakari Martin Sugrin, and her two children. That evening, a seemingly insignificant spark ignited their argument. Maya discovered that Jakari had liked another woman's Instagram photo. For her, it wasn't just about the photo. It was the principle, the growing feeling of distrust in their already tense relationship. For Jakari, it was something he brushed off as unimportant, but the argument quickly became heated. As words flew and tensions rose, the couple's voices filled the house. Mia's two young children, likely accustomed to hearing these arguments, were nearby, their quiet presence adding a layer of tragedy to what would soon unfold. Jakari, perhaps seeking to avoid further conflict, made a decision that he later told authorities was meant to de-escalate the situation. He decided to leave the house for the night. But instead of simply walking out, he began to pack his belongings, a move that only added fuel to the fire. In his account to police, Jakari admitted to taking Maya's phone earlier during the argument. He claimed he hid it in their bedroom, sparking further tension as Maya accused him of trying to control her. As the argument grew more intense, Jakari's choice to pack his things seemed less like a retreat and more like an escalation. And then there was the gun. Jakari later told investigators that he tucked the firearm under his arm as he moved through the house. Why he had the gun at all remains a question. In his version of events, he said he was gathering his wallet, phone, and charger from the kitchen when Mia confronted him again. She believed he still had her phone, and in frustration, she began throwing things at him and chasing him around the kitchen. This is where the story takes a darker turn.
Look, this right here sounds like a very toxic relationship. And the only type of men who will remain in a toxic relationship is men who are weak emotionally, men who don't have the strength to walk away. Because a real man is not going to stay in chaos, because it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. But when a dude is weak and this is why I tell y'all, man, these types of men are the most dangerous dudes in the world. They can't control their emotions. They don't have any type of emotional intelligence. And women love to deal with men like that because they are spontaneous, they don't have any sense of direction. So when a woman is toxic, she's going to be drawn towards a man like that. And that's what the situation sounds like. Just sounds like it was very toxic. Sad.
To Jakari, the gun discharged during this chaotic moment. But detectives found inconsistencies in his account, and they were left questioning. Was the presence of the gun a precaution, a threat, or simply negligence? One fact is clear. Its role in the argument turned the night from a heated dispute into an irreversible tragedy. A social media argument, a decision to leave, and the unexplained presence of a firearm. These were the elements leading to Maya Johnson's death, but the details remain murky. Why was Jakari holding a loaded gun during an argument? And was this truly an accident, or is there more to the story than he's admitting? The trajectory of the bullet, the statements from the children, and the evidence left behind all paint a picture. But it's one filled with contradictions. Do you think the presence of the gun was intentional or a reckless accident? Share your thoughts below. Your opinion matters as we continue unraveling this case.
New at 6, Leon County deputies say this man shot and killed a pregnant woman and her unborn child. Jakari Martin Sugren is facing 2 manslaughter charges now. LCSO says the shooting happened just after 1 this morning off River Breeze Lane, that is near Tower Road. Deputies say Martin Sugren drove the woman to the hospital where she and the child both died. They have not shared any information about what led up to the shooting.
Man, bro crashed out, bro. He crashed out. And fellas, it's never worth it, bro. It's never worth it. Like, whatever got you that angry where you gotta do that, it's never worth it, man. And that's why a man needs to have emotional intelligence, fam. You gotta know how to control your emotions. That's why men needs to constantly work on themselves. Facts.
A single gunshot, a shattered life, and 2 young children left in the wake of tragedy. The story Jahari Martin Sugran tells is one of chaos and accident, but does the evidence support his account? And if it truly was an accident, why did it happen at all? According to Jahari Martin Sugran, the night spiraled out of control as he tried to leave the house to avoid further conflict. He claimed he had tucked a loaded gun under his arm, a detail that raised immediate questions. Why was a loaded firearm even in play during a domestic argument? Was it for protection, intimidation, or something else entirely? Jahari's explanation was that the gun was simply being moved as he packed his belongings, but investigators would soon find troubling inconsistencies in his story. In his statement, Jahari described a frantic moment in the kitchen. Maya Johnson, upset and accusing him of withholding her phone, chased him around the space. Items were thrown, words were shouted, and tensions boiled over. It was during this chaotic exchange, he claimed, that the firearm discharged. A single bullet was fired, striking Maya and ending her life. Jahari insisted that the gunshot was accidental, the result of a struggle and misplaced positioning. But the details he provided didn't add up. Using a toy gun during his interview, Jahari attempted to demonstrate how the firearm had been positioned under his arm. Detectives immediately noted flaws in his demonstration. The angle of the gun and the trajectory of the bullet didn't align with Maya's injuries or where she was reportedly standing. Could the gun really have gone off without the trigger being pulled? Investigators doubted it, and this question would become central to the case. Maya Johnson, just 25 years old and 9 weeks pregnant, collapsed in her kitchen. Her 2 young children were inside the home, their innocence shattered in a single...
This right here is sad, bro, because in these types of situations, the people who suffers the most are always the kids. Because as a kid, having to see your mom get popped like that, that's traumatizing, man. That's going to affect those kids forever. Look, fellas, the bottom line is this, bro. If you're with a woman and she's saying you're trying to control her, you need to leave her alone. That's what that means. But the worst thing a man could do is try to change a woman like that. You taking her phone, you hiding her phone. Bro, you can't control her. That's why it's best to just leave her alone. Y'all gotta understand, when a woman is for you, she will never say he's trying to control me, because she's gonna submit to you. She will allow you to take control. She will listen to you. But when a woman is not for you, bro, she's gonna say things like that.
Single instant. Jahari, realizing what had happened, claimed he immediately called 911 and rushed Maya to Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare. But the damage had already been done. Maya and her unborn child were pronounced dead, leaving her family, her children, and an entire neighborhood devastated. The shooting marked the tragic culmination of an argument that, in another life, might have ended with slammed doors and silence. Instead, it ended in unimaginable loss. The questions investigators asked that night were the same ones haunting anyone who heard this story. Why was a loaded gun being handled during an argument? Could Jahari's actions have been more reckless than accidental? And most importantly, could this tragedy have been avoided altogether? The forensic evidence, the angle of the bullet, the lack of any obstruction to the gun's bolt-action mechanism suggested a different reality than the one Jahari described. The story didn't add up, and doubts about his innocence began to grow. Maya's children, interviewed by authorities, told a simple yet heartbreaking truth. Jahari shot our mother. Was this the honest testimony of witnesses or the misinterpretation of a traumatized moment? Investigators were determined to find out. A single gunshot that Jahari claimed was an accident left Maya Johnson dead. But with inconsistencies in his story and mounting evidence pointing to negligence or worse, The question remains, was this truly an accident, or was there more to Jakari's intentions than he's admitting? Do you think Jakari's actions?
Wow, yo, so looks like his girl was a TikToker or whatever. And imagine being in a relationship with your girl and she's making TikToks like this. I'd be so bored. See, fellas, before a man take an action like that, it got to be a build up. So the times he should have left, he stayed. And then he got to the point where he did what he did. That's why a man have to know when to walk away, bro. You can't change a woman. Whatever her energy is, bro, that's what it's going to be.
Were reckless or intentional? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Your opinions matter as we uncover the truth behind this tragic case. Two narratives emerged that night, one spoken by a man claiming a tragic accident, and another told by the evidence left behind. The question investigators had to answer: could they both be true? Just hours after the shooting, law enforcement arrived at the scene, greeted by chaos. The kitchen where Maya Johnson had been shot was in disarray, reflecting the turmoil that had unfolded just moments before her death. Jakari Martin Sugrin was cooperative but visibly shaken. He repeated his story to officers: a struggle over a phone, a gun tucked under his arm, and a firearm accidentally discharging. His words were filled with regret, but even in those early moments, investigators were skeptical. The first responders knew that accidents involving firearms often followed a predictable pattern: negligence in handling, misfires, or mishaps during cleaning. But this felt different. Jakari's account painted a picture of panic and disorder: a scuffle, a weapon misplaced, and a sudden devastating outcome. But the physical evidence in the kitchen suggested another story entirely. Detectives noted the trajectory of the bullet, which was clean and precise. It struck Maya in a way that didn't align with Jakari's claim of a gun positioned awkwardly under his arm. The question arose: how could a firearm discharge in such a perfect trajectory without deliberate force? Adding to the complexity, neighbors reported hearing loud arguments earlier in the evening. Was this just a tragic culmination of heated words, or was there more intent behind the trigger pull? And if it was accidental, why hadn't Jakari taken steps to secure the gun earlier? Detectives on the scene immediately picked up on inconsistencies. They knew that emotions run high in domestic disputes, but they also knew that an explanation like Jakari's needed to match the physical reality. The 911 call played a critical role in shaping their initial impressions. Jakari's voice, frantic but controlled, repeated, "It was an accident. I didn't mean to shoot her." But seasoned investigators noted something unusual: a lack of detail. Jakari described what had happened, but only in the vaguest of terms. One officer remarked in his report, "It's not what he said, it's what he avoided saying that stood out." Back at the station, detectives began putting together the timeline. Witness statements, including those from Maya's children, hinted at a volatile situation in the moments before the gunshot. The children's words were simple but damning. "Mommy and Jakari were fighting. Then he shot her." Was this the raw truth from innocent bystanders, or the confusion of young minds in a traumatic moment? Adding to the puzzle, the gun itself became a focal point. Investigators noted it was fully loaded with the safety off, a state that raised more questions than answers. Why would someone carry a firearm in such a dangerous condition, especially around a pregnant woman and young children? Every detail seemed to push Jakari's accident explanation closer to implausibility. What do you think about the inconsistencies in Jakari's story so far? Do you believe his account, or do you think the evidence is pointing to something more deliberate? Let us know in the comments. Kindly join
Man, it is what it is, man. Dude crashed out, obviously.
in the conversation. Why did a seemingly trivial argument over an Instagram like escalate into a fatal shooting? As investigators delved into the case, they uncovered inconsistencies in Jakari Martin Sugrin's account.
We have new information about the deadly shooting of a pregnant woman in Tallahassee yesterday. Arrest papers say she was the suspect's girlfriend. Jakari Martin Chagrin told investigators that he and Maya Johnson were arguing at their home on River Breeze Lane. He said he grabbed some of his belongings and was trying to leave when the gun went off. He claims the gun was not in his hand, but pinned against his body. The gunshot killed Johnson and her unborn child. Martin Chagrin is facing 2 counts of manslaughter.
The charges against Jakari Martin Sugrin were not for murder, but for manslaughter, a decision that sparked heated debates both inside the courtroom and in public opinion. To charge Jakari with first-degree murder, the prosecution needed evidence of premeditation, proof that he planned Maya's death. But nothing in the investigation suggested a calculated act. Second-degree murder, on the other hand, required evidence of intent to kill, though without premeditation. Here, too, the case faltered. The lack of clear motive or direct proof of purposeful violence made this charge difficult to pursue. Instead, the prosecutors settled on manslaughter, a charge that acknowledges the killing of another person, but without intent. This meant the focus shifted to recklessness and negligence. Was this decision a compromise, or the only realistic path to conviction? As the charges were announced, opinions varied widely. Some argued the manslaughter charge was appropriate, given the conflicting evidence and the version of events would linger long after the verdict. When intent is unclear, how do we define accountability? Do you agree with the decision to pursue manslaughter instead of murder? What would justice for Maya's effects of abuse behind closed doors? Though the signs of abuse were there, frequent hospital visits, police reports, and restraining orders, her death still raised more questions. While Maya's story has come to light, it's only one example of the countless others that don't. Was Maya's growing sense of...
Look, fellas, the bottom line is this, man. As a man, you have to learn to control your emotions, bro. The signs are always there when a man should leave, when it's time to walk away. It's obvious this man regretted what he did, because he probably wasn't able to control his emotions. Like, whatever happened between them, he probably weren't able to control his emotions, and he did what he did. And RIP to this woman, and my heart goes out to the children, for sure. But absolutely, people, know when to walk away. If you're in a toxic relationship, that's never a good thing. It's not cute, and it's not cool. And you will be a fool to remain in one, because it's only a matter of time before something bad happens. That's what a toxic relationship is. Something bad is going to happen. We are playing in chaos. Fellas, be wise out here and understand something. You can't change a woman. If you get with a woman and she's this way, that's how she's going to be. Don't get the box and fall in love and expect her to change her ways. It's not going to happen. That's why it's smart to have your fun and move around, because you can't save some women. That's just the bottom line.